Hello and welcome everyone back to the CCL Week 2 Last Chance Qualifier. I'm Rome DMV, joined alongside Mick, and we've got our second series of the night for you all, and it's gonna be a very, very intense one. Let me say that.
Yeah, that's the smallest way to put it, quite honestly. Looking at these two teams, I got to say, I don't know how they're not in playoffs. That's the scariest thing to me. That's the craziest thing to me, is to know that these two teams, outstanding squads, Georgia Southern even being one of the likes of one of them, I'm not sure what to expect out of this. This could be probably the best last chance qualifier matchup we can really get our hands on.
This one actually isn't this one is a straight up playoff match. This is a straight up Group A in East playoff match. So our first match of the night was, I know, a little bit confusing because this was, branded as a straight up last chance qualifier broadcast, but you got to change around the schedules a little bit. So we're jumping straight into the playoffs right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the head to head with these two rosters, and we'll see exactly why they're in the playoffs. We got Georgia Southern. They're going to be coming in with a hot record of 18-2, going up against Lebanon Valley College, who are 16-5. So as I stated, Group A playoff match in the East. This is where things all are really going to heat up.
Yeah, it most definitely will. This head-to-head alone in itself, and you can look at that, you're saying, oh my God. That's kind of the easiest way to put it is, oh my God, what are these teams doing? What kind of, pre-game routine do they have? I need to make sure to duplicate that 10 times over just to compensate for the lack of natural skill I have in this game. It is outstanding to look at these scoreboards. Know that also Georgia Southern, 13-1 on control, mind you. That feels illegal. It feels like a war crime to even see onto this field and know that we're still allowing this mode to be within this series.
Yeah, wow. I didn't realize that they were that good at it. Man, that is impressive. And then the search and destroy, 18-2. Let's go ahead and look at the maps because, now I got to see the maps.
It's kind of a problem.
Okay, yeah, this team looking pretty good. I see why they're in the playoffs, as you stated. That's why it was funny when you said, I don't know how they are in the playoffs. They definitely are, and for a reason. My goodness, as we are going to be getting a triple Tuscan to kick things off. Hardpoint, search, and control. And I'm going to be honest, we might only see Tuscan in this series.
Maybe. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Even then, Hardpoint is still kind of up in the air, obviously. But, if you're still sticking around for the broadcast, anybody who is still sticking around for the last one, I sure hope you like Tuscan, because you're about to get a mouthful of it. We saw 3 Tuscans back-to-back in that last series. You're now getting 3 more Tuscans. Rum, you and I better be able to cast Tuscan with our eyes closed by the end of this broadcast from the looks of it, knowing how much we've had it here tonight. But I'm honestly hoping that LVC can at least pull out a game, because Hardpoint obviously is going to be somewhat up in the air, but Search and Destroy and Control, Georgia Southern looking so darn strong, I think Search and Destroy could still create somewhat of a little bit of space, a little bit of a pacing differential to really open up this game and allow something else to come out of it.
I didn't even think about it like that, man. We might be finishing this broadcast, me and you, tonight with only 6 out of 7 of the maps that we witnessed being Tuscan. That would be very interesting, to say the least. And right now, Georgia Southern, they're going to be wanting to get off to a hot start for sure in this hard point. They've got a very good hard point record as well, 21-4. Only 4 losses on the other side. You got 18-8 in hard point. So, really, Georgia Southern are the favorite team in every single mode. And the fact that Tuscan is really a bread and butter map, I don't know, man. Georgia Southern, as I stated, they might be walking away with the series in a 3-0, but hey, listen, this is the playoffs right now. It's up to Lebanon Valley to really make some waves, make some things happen, because right now is the playoffs. You're here for a reason.
Yeah, it most definitely is. And I just go ahead before this series really starts to unfold. I got to give some love to Jay Bird, man, the guy who sets out the schedules for this. He saw Georgia and he said, you know what? Nick's from Georgia, born and raised, loves the area. He's going to be rooting for somebody here, but he's going to bring the energy to both sides no matter what the case situation may be. So as we can already see things starting to unfold, the P1 being up on the board now, nobody really touching it just yet. Already chopping the kill on the board in even exchange for both sides.
Yeah, and already you can see it's going to be absolute bloodbaths coming out. As early on, Georgia Southern are going to be able to control this point. It's going to be tenacious of LVC. Going to be just trying to play these angles correctly. They are able to get a couple of picks, get some nice time to answer right on back. Both these squads are doing a solid job, but it seems like both these teams opening this up. This kind of has the feeling of a playoff match. They wasn't too hot out the gate. Teams are kind of being methodical, a little bit
Yep.
slower, and I mean, I like what I'm seeing.
A lot of respect for each other is really what it comes down to. Knowing that they both made it to the stage now, they're both sitting in playoffs, knowing that they didn't have to really go through too much to get here, that they just had absolute units of records over the course of this season. But there it is, tested with another one on the board. Some exchanges have come down as this piece 2 is now on the field. And see, at 26-19, we can't talk about the score too much because it's still in these early stages. Nobody's going to have an overwhelming advantage. We got to look at the kills. That's the one thing we can work with. Tenacious was able to go ahead and find a 5 spree, but not really capitalize on it just yet. Still, Georgia Southern, though, they're looking a lot more average across the board. Every single player stepping up, every single player looking relatively close in terms of that KD ratio. I want to wait to see who can really go ahead and have that spotlight on themselves for Georgia Southern, because it's going to come out eventually. We just haven't seen it just yet. Instead, we're seeing a lot of time on the board, and they're making sure to compensate where they can.
Yeah, and the thing is that as we saw, before, is that, in these Tuscan situations, that really it's going to be all about, how you play this second set of rotations. I mean, we saw it last time. What do we have, a 70-70 game at hardpoint on Tuscan? And then that ended up being an absolute blowout, 250-120. So, it's really going to be about, getting warmed up, understanding where you're making mistakes on this first set. That way, once you get to that second set, you're going to be able to wipe the floor with this team. And, I mean, right now they're up by 20 already. So if they can figure it out on this first set, that's going to be some tough uphill sledding for this LVC roster, because really their best chance of beating them is in the hard point.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with you. That's all really doing us down to. Seeing that Georgia Southern over the course of the entire season, only 3 collective losses on maps, or modes, excuse me. Anything that isn't hardpoint is just a disgusting statistic in itself. This is where we can start to mention these statistics. Talk about what these teams have to provide. And Georgia Southern is a force to be reckoned with and really scary to look at on paper. So it all comes down to whether or not LVC can really just ignore those stats, give the respect to their opponents, and also give them the shots in the head as well, because it all comes down to Tesson, who's on site right now with a absolute wipe, and knowing that he's going to be following things up. Now sitting at 12-6. I said we got to find our highlight player thus far. It seems like Teston may be a huge advocate for that.
Yeah, Teston's starting to test exactly what this LVC roster are going to be able to do to stop him, because as you stated, I mean, this lead is now ballooned to a 50-point advantage for Georgia Southern. They're definitely looking to take control of this game 1 kill at a time, as Chappas is going to be able to take out one in Wizard, and that's going to be a big kill to set up more control, more map control for this team overall. As I mean, right now, T-Shirt currently on a 4 spree is going to be able to make that 5, currently sitting at 12-5. I mean, this Georgia Southern roster, they're definitely starting to come alive.
They most definitely are, and that's the scariest part. Knowing that we saw this game being so close at such an early stage of the map, and knowing that, I mean, what Georgia Southern has to provide, we saw them kind of being asleep. They were honestly just waking up. They said, we haven't brushed our teeth yet. Let's go ahead and take a shower. Now we're freshened up. Let's go ahead and find ourselves running away with this. Now sitting in an 80-point lead right now. Not only Testing going up, but T-Shirt 15-6, Choppa's 10-7 right now. Cam's a little bit lackluster, but he's making sure to make up for where he can. He's saying, I'm not really lighting up right now. My barrel isn't nearly as hot as these guys, so what can I do? I can at least make sure to get some time on the board, make sure we get ourselves a lead, because if they're going to be mowing these guys down like they are right now, I can take care of whatever need else.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, it's going to be a 70-point advantage right now coming in for Georgia Southern. Teston 18-10, T-Shirt 15-7. But this is the thing, T-Shirt's got those streaks in his back pocket, fully streaked out, going to be feeling great right now. And with this big contest coming in at this hill, I mean, if Georgia Southern can start to rack up a lot of this time here on the back end of this hill, I mean, it's going to just keep that snowball effect rolling in for this roster, as they are looking to add insult to injury, put a hurting on this LVC roster, who are just trying to find a way to break. Did that nade work? Wow, that was a beautiful nade. I didn't expect that to get a kill, but it ended up getting 2. And now LVC are able to break through the hill in perfect fashion. But guess what? Teston is literally shutting down any kind of hope that LVC are acquiring.
He most definitely is, and I mean, now we see obviously the spotlight on Cam, who's going to have to set up across the map. Make sure to be that engaged. Make sure to get these first initial kills rotating around to P1, and he can manage at least one under the board. So that's a good way for him to show he can have spotlights every here and there. But knowing it's so controversial, knowing it's such a good and hefty spot for him to find these necessary kills, you find yourself a lead, and you also get yourself site control with a single man holding it down, because LVC aren't aware of how many players are on site. They don't have that intel. They don't have the luxury we do with seeing where everybody is at an exact time. So they're going to be working with that. They're going to say it doesn't even matter. They're going to back up. They're going to give some time over, wait for the reinforcements to come through, and it's still only Cam sitting on site, while meanwhile you have Choppas in the middle trying to find some more kills to back things up.
Yeah, this roster right now, I mean, up by 115. They're starting to really just run away with this one. I mean, they've got triple the points of LVC right now. Anytime you can triple the score in a hard point, I mean, it's almost going to be impossible to answer back right now. I mean, they only need 65 left to win this one, or 75, excuse me. And then on the other side, I mean, you just need a ton more. I mean, right now you're going to need to come up with some type of momentum. You got every single player right now who's going to be negative on the side of LVC. So, I mean, it's really just Georgia Southern really just having a great job of controlling this game in pretty much every way, shape, and form. And, I mean, now heading into this next point, look at this. Georgia Southern, they just have all the control of the map. And, I don't know, LVC are just looking a little bit in shambles right now.
Yeah, they most definitely are, but I mean, even then, it's still not the worst of scenarios for themselves. They're starting to get a feel for what Georgia Southern has to provide, and they know they're a really, really big team. They've always been one of the top dogs when it comes around to the CCL more specifically, and they've been, quite frankly, disgusting at every single match they've played in the season thus far. Being in the Southeast Conference as well, they're feeling good about it, but it all comes down to whether or not they can back that up right now. With only 28 seconds remaining on this site, they're going to find themselves at least probably sitting into 230. I mean, they're going to look at the resets, look at the respawns that are coming out for LVC. They're not going to be very advantageous. They're going to be a hop and a skip away, but knowing Georgia Southern, the way they're hunkering down, the way they're finding themselves on the site, Minty can find a couple of kills there, a little bit of a retaliation. But with P3 being so far away, it's going to be a massive haul for them to get back onto this side.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I had a little bit more hope, I'm not going to lie, for this LVC roster. You know, I looked at their overall standings, or overall, you know, their overall record in these modes, and I thought that they might be able to put back a little bit more of a fight in these hard points. But I mean, right here, it is just looking like Georgia Southern are just absolutely on point today. They have looked like a beast that is not trying to go to sleep anytime soon, and LVC just have not found the answer to be able to, you know, to break through really and be able to get a significant amount of time on really any of these hills.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, knowing that they haven't even had a chance to wake up, quite simply. I mean, things have been really difficult for them in this first map. Knowing that hardpoint was the one thing that they could have really won, looking at the stat line more specifically, they're finding some kills. They're actually getting onto the board every here and there. They have their opportunities. They have their moments. Problem is, they're not finding that consistency. They're not having these players really start to get invigorated off those kills and run away with it. As Georgia Southern, they're just kind of here to show up. They're not enjoying playing the game. It's almost like just going to work for them. They show up, they play the 9 to 5, they make sure to get the job done, and they go home. They don't really have too much of an attitude about it. They just do what they got to do, and they do it extremely efficiently.
And that's the thing, is that, I mean, efficiency is going to be able to equal out wins in the playoffs, and that's exactly what Georgia Southern have done just now, picking up the big hardpoint win, getting that massive 1-0 advantage, and in dominating fashion, as we saw in the last series yet again. I mean, this team is definitely looking playoff ready.
They most definitely are. Knowing this is the first map here in playoffs for them, knowing that they're getting to wake up on a Tuesday, they're getting somewhat of a week's lead here, and they're feeling good about it, knowing that obviously that we had somewhat of a hybrid cast going on now. These stats just don't lie. We see testing going off. We saw T-Shirt and Choppa starting to line up there towards the end and being one of those players, as I mentioned earlier, that has to kind of come awake, has to really come alive over the course of the series. They got themselves a head start, because usually that's the one variable that you have to rely on, saying how long will it take them to wake up. Well, they are definitely alive and ready. They have the blood in their eyes. They are showing up. They have found themselves a map 1 already onto the board. And knowing these next 2 back-to-back are going to be Tuscan. They've already established this is now their home ground. They've won a map on it. They just have to do it 2 more times on modes that have already favored themselves the entirety of the season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now, this team, they're going to be going into their more favored modes. I mean, as you stated, they're going to be feeling great. This is a great momentum builder for this Georgia Southern roster. I mean, LVC, I'm not exactly sure what Lebanon Valley are going to be able to do to bounce back, but I mean, this roster, they're definitely here for a reason. They're 16-5 for a reason. They've shown that they can win, so it's just going to be all about coming back and making some plays happen. But I mean, with all your players going negative in the way they did, I mean, that's just not the way you want to open things up in the playoffs whatsoever. But I mean, still, I mean, I will say shout out to them regardless, because they have made it to the playoffs, and not everyone can say that, so.
And honestly, I'm completely with you there. I mean, they're all in playoffs. They have themselves a really good standing and knowing what they've had to do. But LVC, I mean, they've been dealt a really bad hand, quite honestly, knowing they got to go up against who I will call Georgia Southern is one of these Titans. They are one of, if not the best team when it comes around to the Southeast, and knowing that they are going to be their first opponent, seeing that we're highlighting. And as I mentioned earlier, they make no work of it at all. I mean, if I went to that facility and I watched what they do and watch how they play, I probably wouldn't even be as nearly as energized as I would on a caster desk, because I'd say they're just showing up. they literally treat it like clockwork, like a 9 to 5, and just call it a done day and clock out when they're done. That is one of the teams that really scare you, to know that you're not going to get in their heads. You're not going to find one of these rounds that really just start to tease them off, and they start going ahead and getting in their own heads and can't make the plays next, and they start having these drowned out comms. They show up, they play, they kill, they find the time, and they also win out these maps. So going into Search and Destroy, you quite honestly just have to play better fundamental Call of Duty across the board. That's why they're so good when it comes around to the regular season, and why when it comes around to playoffs, they get very close, right there to the tip of the mountain peak when they fall. They can't let that happen again here. Knowing the LVC, they have to play better fundamental Call of Duty or break out enough of a wild card to throw them off, and knowing that they can't make these adjustments like that on the fly because they're used to teams just running at them and winning out those gunfights, it's going to be a very, very difficult adjustment to make on S&Ds more specifically.
I mean, precisely. I mean, you said it. It's going to be all coming down to this teamwork, this coordination, this communication, and honestly, this mentality for this Lebanon College team. I mean, really, Lebanon Valley, they're going to need to come out and really show that map one is not going to be affecting their mindset whatsoever. They're going to need to slow this game down. But really, if you're coming to a Search and Destroy, this is the last map that you're going to see things slow down on, simply because, I mean, honestly, we stated it before, on the offensive side, you've got to be making these aggressive plays.
You most definitely do. I mean, and on Search and Destroy, we sat there and mentioned it earlier, that aggression is the name of the game on this attacking side. I mean, teams could literally play. We could see an entire speedrunning community just to see how fast you can get that bomb down towards the A side. And that's not a really good thing for the side of LVC when they're kind of saying we need rounds everywhere we can, on the defense, on the offense, no matter where it is. We have to fight for it. And with them knowing that they're going to start on the attacking side, it's a good start for them. They can play the game. They can dictate the pace. They can make sure to work whatever they got. But, I mean, Georgia Southern, if they find a first kill like that and a second one on top of it, knowing that Chop is going to go off like that, it's going to be a huge problem for them, knowing that they just don't have nearly the resources that they did.
1,000% Chop is going to be able to pick up 2 before getting traded out. So already Georgia Southern going to be having a nice advantage to kick things off, and now it's going to be the B hit going to be coming out of this Lebanon College squad. And guess what? Oh, no, T, don't do it to him. Oh, but he's going to get dropped. Tried to pistol whip Dunder, but guess what? Dunder is going to be able to collect that paper from that cache, and right now Dunder going to be feeling great. There was definitely an office joke in there somewhere. You know, tried to make it flow, but that wasn't going to force it.
Yeah, it most definitely will. But even then, I mean, one thing we can force is Georgia Southern getting this first round. I mean, that was kind of be expected knowing they're on the defense. We saw Choppas grab those first 2 initial kills. You're saying, all right, a curveball, it's not only thrown into the bat, it almost hit the player's head at that point. Both of them, just knocking them out of the game, making sure that that early aggressive start of the LVC setting the pace, that was not even an option with only 2 players remaining. That's going to be a very, very difficult venture to come back from, knowing that you're still up against these Titans, that you have to find that first initial pick. You have to guarantee that, no matter what it may be. No matter how slow you play the game, Georgia Southern, they have no other avenue besides aggression on this attacking side. You know what they're going to do. You know exactly where they're going to push. You know they're going to go to the A side. But that was just not read, as we already saw Wizard being the first one to be popped off. Once again, by Choppas being that initial ignition.
And a big trade going to be coming out, and now Teston does have the bomb in the mid. Very aggressive play, as it seems like they are trying to play right now for Dunder up top. And, I mean, they already spotted this. This player did come out. Oh, man, Dunder, that door just saved him from... That is one of the most luckiest COD timing things I've ever seen. The enemy opened the door so that the other enemy didn't see him. He was able to get the pick before getting traded out. But either way, Georgia Southern are able to pick up the victory. But, man, I will say that was a wild round.
Yep, one on both sides now, so they can be just to be efficient on the offense as they can the defense. But knowing that it wasn't really too much of a dominant fashion, it wasn't as instantaneous of what we saw Choppas throwing at that wild card, pushing out towards A, and then making sure to make the plays there on the fountain side. But knowing that, I mean, it could happen again. LVC, I wouldn't blame to make a pretty big strand towards that B side right off the get-go, trying to play these wild cards, trying to do something weird, because we know that A is going to be the hot spot every single time. But instead, Tanash is pushing right out towards A once again. No real aggression from Choppas this time, trying to play it slow, and having the respect for the team. But instead, it's going to go right towards the middle. And he's going to be, once again, successful in that avenue of finding that aggressive kill. Can't find the second this time, but it doesn't matter. The damage has already been done.
Yeah, precisely. And now this Georgia Southern roster, I mean, on this defensive side, are going to have a pretty solid setup for now in this 3v3 situation. Teston is going to get stunned out, trying to pre-fire. He's going to be able to get out with his life, and that's going to be a huge advantage. Now, as yet again, trade is going to be coming out. It's going to be a 1v2 situation now as Teston for this Georgia Southern roster. Is going to need to make some plays happen. Oh, as he's trying to land the shots right now, going to dip out into the church. This bomb is going to start to go down over at A. And now Testin, can he pick up this one transitional kill? Yes, he can. And now he's going to be waiting for this player number 2. I mean, he's going to be waiting for him, but Tenacious going to be playing this one extremely smart. I mean, Testin doesn't even know he could hop on the bomb right now. He'd probably be good to go, but this player in Tenacious is going to be wrapping around. He's going to be checking it. And now Tenacious just needs to play time at this point. He's going to be playing this backside church. Oh, man, Testin is looking for him any and everywhere. He's saying, where could you be? Where are you going to be found? And I don't think, unless he gets great timing, I don't think that he's going to be able to find Testin. And no, Testin is going to be getting great timing, running away at the perfect time. Tenacious is going to get great timing, running away at the perfect time, able to take out Testin. And that's going to be this Lebanon Valley College team able to get their first round win of Search and Destroy on the board.
Honestly, what I'm looking at and more confused about is that I think Georgia Southern's just trying to play with their food here. There was no thought whatsoever towards that defuse. We saw Testin push up. We saw him play around that bomb on so many different occasions. Not even worry about checking the corners. That was not the same Testin I've seen on a consistent basis through the entirety of the season. This man ran across the bomb, knew he had the time, and a lot of players would say, you know what, no matter what, I'm going to have to stick this defuse. He didn't care about it. He wanted to go find that kill, and he didn't really have a streak on his hands either to say that he needed a reason to have that kill because he's now sitting at, 4-2, or 2-2, excuse me. So, I mean, across the board right now, we're seeing Georgia Southern just have no regard for LVC whatsoever. Throwing respect out the window, just making sure to hit these shots, find these kills, and just rely on rounds like that.
I mean, honestly, right now, this Georgia Southern squad is just really just trying to make something happen. But in a 2v4 situation, Testin with the bomb in hand, you're going to need to pick up this kill in the mid. Is able to pick up one. That's going to be big because now, I mean, you can really make some plays off of this. How is this LVC roster going to be reacting? They're going to be reacting just right, being able to lock down A. And now Testin in the 1v3, going to be dropping as well. So LVC answering back in solid fashion.
Yep, giving themselves a 2-2 here in the series, that's going to be massive. But even those first 2 initial picks, making sure the advantage went to their edge. And I even said it, they needed themselves first initial picks. But when they can double down, find 2 on top of that, they're going to find themselves some easy rounds to back it up. Because as we mentioned, these teams, sure, Georgia Southern is an outstanding squad, but a 2v4 is a lot to ask for. You have to be definitively better. You have to be almost looking professional compared to these guys who are on the collegiate level right now. But even then, skill gap, no matter what it may be, it can be out the window in a game like this. So it all comes down to whether or not we can see the answer come through. LVC get themselves a pretty quick plan or get themselves an efficient setup towards the post plant to make sure their jobs get that much easier. So already it has to come down to this first blood, and Chappas does manage it there, knowing that they have full control now of this B side of the map. LVC is going to be forced to play for A.
Yeah, and I mean, this situation right now, you can see they're completely surrounded. Oh, man, if they start to get this bomb down, I'm going to be honest, I don't know why they didn't take over top mid. I would have thought that Georgia Southern would have taken over top mid with that pick, but either way, able to get the flank and another big kill. Going to give it a 3v2 advantage, but Minty is able to pick up 2 to turn the tides, make it a 2v2 situation now. Georgia Southern going to be working the way around the back in tandem, and they're able to pick off 1, and that's going to be leaving Wizard to do some wizardry things. They clutch this one up for this LVC roster, but just standing here waiting. I don't know if that's going to be the best call. Puts in some shots, not able to put in the damage. 2v1 as they're going to be challenging, and that's a little bit of body shots going to be coming out. A little bit too early, Mick?
Maybe a little bit too early, but regardless, you still find yourself something, and there's a trade-off at the end of the day. So Georgia Southern getting themselves one more round on the board, getting a 1-round lead here, knowing that LVC bounced back. I mean, we can't really count them out now, right? We saw the round advantage, we saw the records, we saw the head-to-head, and it was a little bit scary to say the least, but knowing that LVC's at least gotten 2 on the board, that's enough of a rally for them, honestly. I mean, I'm thinking those comms, they're going to be outstanding. They're going to be really excited just for those 2 alone, and knowing they can keep it up. They can just double it down again. Say, we got 2, just get 2 more. We got 4, we can get 4 more. But thankfully, at that stage, you're only going to need 2 more to close things out. But with Georgia Southern getting the lead here, it's going to be pretty big issues, knowing that if they can just pick on Cam, as weird as the way it is pointed out, they just got to find that 1 weak link. They got to make sure that they can play off that. Know that even then, he's only found 1 kill. If he gets 1 more, that could be the dictation of an entire round of the entire series at hand. So they got to make sure to work what they got.
Precisely. Wizard is going to be dropping, getting first blooded. Testing, if you can win this, that's going to be massive. But no, Dunder's going to be shutting him down. Choppas gets the trade, though. 3v2 advantage coming out for Georgia Southern right now. As I mean, Choppa's going to be making his way back toward mid with this bomb heading into the church. And this is a dangerous place to have the bomb right now. Probably going to opt to go back to A and just plant it. And that's exactly what it's looking like he's going to do. No, gonna be waiting a little bit longer. Finally gonna start to put this bomb down. 3v2 advantage for Georgia Southern. This should be their round.
Yeah, it most definitely should be. It all comes down to whether or not they can really make the hold now. Because, I mean, looking at a 2v3 situation quickly turn into 2v2, Tenacious has been one of those players that honestly has been extremely tenacious. Able to go ahead and pull out some of these rounds, make them look a lot more doable. And even then, when LVC doesn't close it out, knowing that he's still being that consistent player, that consistent wild card, always throwing something into the mix, you can't really rely on Minty just as much as, once again, Tenacious is going to be relied on for that trade on an exchange once more, seeing that he can make this round doable, and not only that, winnable as well, when he even may have the read, but just doesn't stick to the angle.
I mean, honestly, right now in this 1v1, oh man, I gotta be honest, Georgia Southern is just so clean. Like, they're making all the right plays at the right time. 1v1s, I mean, they're doing everything necessary, and I don't know. I mean, this LVC roster, I'm just waiting. They those 2 rounds that they won, I thought that they gained so much momentum. So for Georgia Southern to answer back with 2 rounds of their own, I'm honestly surprised. I thought that this team in LVC might be able to answer back a little bit better. But I mean, Wizard right now currently sitting at 1-6, definitely going to need to step it up.
Yeah, they most definitely will. Knowing this is one of these big swing rounds right now. I mean, even then, that was more importantly the last one, but sitting at now double the scoreline for Georgia Southern, showing that they can go ahead and win on both sides of the map on a double the occasion compared to the LVC. That's going to be a huge problem for them to bounce back from now. We sat there, mentioned it earlier. Georgia Southern has only lost 2 maps collectively of Search and Destroy over the entire regular season. Now in a playoff situation, this is just clockwork for them. They've done on such a consistent occasion that now it's not even an occasion. It is just their job. So when you see T-Shirt able to grab that first kill and Tenacious to trade things out, you're looking good. You're happy about the results thus far. But LVC needs a little bit more to really give themselves that swing, to really make sure they can grab themselves another round on the board, and have to do it on such a back-to-back-to-back basis. So they need 4 more times to do this, and knowing that it's going to take 2 back-to-back to really get themselves into a tie situation, it's a really sticky scenario. It's a very, very rough set of shoes that are honestly too big to fill, but you better hope you can grow up here quickly.
Oh. I was about to say, Tenacious, you better see him. There he is, able to take out one over at B, and they got the bomb planted today. So now it's going to be a little bit of confusion coming out of Georgia as they say, okay, we got the map split. We understand they're not together right now. How do they want to play this one? It looks like they're playing the waiting game, trying to pinch out this player in Tenacious, but Tenacious is playing this one right. He's finding his way to make his way eventually back to his teammate and be able to cover, in some way, shape, or form. Oh, no, but Cam winning that one, sending it into a 1v1. Cam understands exactly where this player is going to be at, and he's going to stretch it. I was about to say, you don't have time to run up there and get him. Oh, no, but he's able to take him off anyway. Oh, man, that was close.
Rough awakenings, but better yet, just lessons learned for the side of Georgia Southern as we can see them losing this round. And even then, Tenacious was missing the first couple of those shots. If they were ready for it, if we saw the shots, the return fire come down, that could have been a guaranteed round for Georgia Southern, but we just didn't see it. Instead, we still see a lead on their hands, but not nearly as dominant as what we saw prior. They have themselves a 2-0 lead, a quick answer to come back from LVC. They are having relevance in this fight. They are not letting it just kind of run away from them. They're not making sure to have a repeat here of that hard point. They're not going to give Georgia Southern the dominant just plays that what we saw last time. This game is going to go the distance, and quite honestly, it's all just off LVC, whether they can find more picks like that on Wizard off the initial frag.
I mean, honestly, this roster in LVC is exactly what they needed. They needed to get that first pick. That way they could start to get a little bit of this momentum going, but Teston going to be evening things out. And now, all that momentum is just absolutely thwarted as now Teston's going to be pushing it back. He spots oh, wow. Dunder able to win that big 1v1. Kill streak going to be coming out from Tenacious, leaving T-Shirt in the 1v3 as this bomb is starting to get defused. You got to check this one right here, right now. Oh! Oh my gosh, no way, he got him off. He actually got him off. Now he's going to be cooking the grenade. Another one's going to be hopping on it immediately because of time. You got him off, and now it's just all about time. You win the round. T-Shirt, 1v3 clutch. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'll see you next round. 5-3 advantage going to be coming out for Georgia Southern, as that right there is how you win Search and Destroy rounds.
It most definitely is. I mean, you make sure to get the plays off. You make sure to play the time that no matter what happens, even if you die, if you have enough time under the board to let that bomb just go off, on the attacking side, that's the advantage you have. We mentioned it earlier. We saw it in the last series, and I even talked about it there during the break when you and I were having the discussion that it just comes at a time. You're going to make sure to keep your eyes on that. And as LVC trying to come for the retake, trying to make these plays, That's their uppermost priority. Meanwhile, Georgia Southern usually have a different goal in mind. But right there, when they finally stick to their guns, when they make sure to have the plays, and they make sure to get this aggression coming out of Choppers for that first blood once again, you have to make sure to have that level of just absolute tenacity. It's a little ironic to say knowing tenacity is here in the game and already had plenty of plays. But, I mean, right now, you got to have the entire squad to back that up as well.
I mean, precisely 3v3 scenario is going to be coming out right now. Even though Georgia Southern picked up the first blood, LVC was able to answer nicely. So are they going to be pinched out? Oh, my goodness. Wizard getting a big kill, but that one is traded out. 2v2 now. The bomb is going to be down on that staircase. Testin, you got to win this one. Is able to win one. Not able to take out Dunder, though. Now it's going to be Dunder versus Cam. It's going to be coming all down to this. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The bomb is still going to be down on these back stairs. 33 seconds remaining. Finally picked up. It looks like he's going to be making his way over to B. Oh, going to be cutting over to mid instead. I mean, Dunder, what are you going to do? This is a big 50-50. Looks like he is going to be going straight up to A. That bomb's going to get planted. Cam's on the other side. Here we go. 1v1. How are you going to be able to... Oh, no! Guessed the wrong way, and Cam is able to clutch that one up, and that's going to be Georgia Southern. Going to be giving him the salute, signing him off as he's going to go ahead and get that defuse. Going up 2-0. And this roster in Georgia Southern are looking pretty solid right here in the playoffs.
They most definitely are. And even then, I mean, grabbing that second map now, showing what they're made of, showing that they have themselves a pretty definitive lead here in this series. We're going to have to see a reverse sweep out of LVC to have any kind of a shot now. And knowing that the odds were already stacked against them, knowing that they came into this playoff series saying we are up against one of the biggest teams here in the CCL, we're going to have to bounce back. We're going to have to start strong. They didn't find that. They found themselves a couple rounds here in Search and Destroy, just like you can find yourself a couple points on hard point. But knowing that you're now going to control, this is even scarier of a statistic for Georgia Southern. Knowing they've only lost one over the entire season of CCL, and you didn't really find the highlight plays you were looking for. I mean, LVC, let's look at all these guys and what they did in this game. Minty, 4-8, that's a little iffy. Wizard, 3-9. Two of your players were kind of asleep in this matchup. Dunder and Tenacious, more specifically, this guy was going off, and he was really making an impact in the game. But when you look at the consistent stat line of all the players of Georgia Southern, and Cam, who was a little bit asleep in that first map, finally starting to wake up here and have that one clutched in the round. Didn't have much damage either, but nonetheless, still managing a couple kills and showing that he can stick with the big dogs and stay at least on the roster. It's a good showing nonetheless, and you can make sure to carry that over under control and have the same consistent results.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, with this Georgia Southern roster just, looking so solid. I mean, heading into this control, as you stated, where they've only lost one map the entire season. Well, it's been since February when it got added. Yeah. So, I mean, that's over 2 months now of just straight up domination and control. And, man, I don't know, man. We're going to have to see exactly what this Lebanon Valley College is going to be able to do to answer back and try to get back into this game, as you stated. It's going to need to be reverse sweeps out of this roster if they want to win it. But listen, I'm excited for it. We'll see if that's going to be the case. We'll be taking a very short break and heading right into the control when we come back to see exactly if Georgia Southern are going to be able to finish this one off. Hello and welcome back to the CCL. And I mean, we're here. I mean, this is round one of the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, no more last chance qualifiers. We're getting right into the action, hot and heavy, as we're going to be kicking things off on control on Tuscan. And guess what? Georgia Southern are going to be kicking things off with a meat grinder. They are already having a 6-kill advantage.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, it was just off that last round.
No.
We already saw him Search and Destroy with Testin. I mentioned Search and Destroy. Testin is doing nothing but destroying players right here off the get-go, looking for a massive life lead. And, I mean, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's going to be a problem. Already sitting on a 6 spree. We literally just hopped into this, man. And we're already seeing AB gone and a huge life differential in the favor of Georgia Southern. It's sitting at 9 right now as they just make it that much larger, sitting at now double digits.
This is rough. This is a quick start for Georgia Southern. This is exactly what this team was looking to do. I mean, at this point, they've just got to get trades, and I mean, they're going to be good to go, but they're doing more than just trading, as right now they have an 11-kill advantage, make it 12 as Testin 9-0 to kick things off. Let's just stay on with him right now, as not able to hit the double-digit mark, but still going to be fully streaked out regardless. Oh, man.
And even then, Georgia Southern not even really playing for the site right now. They just know they can find kills. They could probably find the rest of the kills here with those 14 remaining quicker than they could actually cap the site if they just stacked it. So, I mean, that's what they're doing. They're trying to set up across the map. They're trying to get in the heads of these players of the LVC, trying to say, when you get around on this attacking side, it's already going to be a very, very difficult job for you. But what if we just make it that much more worse? What if we set up across the map? We find these weird off angles. We let you bathe inside your own mindset. Try to figure out how you can bounce back into this game. And Tanash is definitely here for it. He's trying to find this game. He's trying to make it look doable. He's trying to manage something right now, and he can get himself a 3K here, but on a 5 streak is what it's even now. But I mean, getting across the map, trying to do what he can, trying to make these plays over towards the B side, and his teammates are definitely backing him up as this game's looking a lot more doable now with 10 lives remaining on each side. But Georgia Southern just hasn't pulled the trigger on that site, and I think they're starting to feel the pressure like they need to.
I mean, Georgia Southern, in my opinion, are playing for kills. They're
That's
understanding
all they do.
Control. Like, and I mean, they only have 1 control loss, so they understand exactly how they want to play all situations. So they understand they have 40 seconds. That's plenty of time to wipe out, a full team twice. So, right now they're already going to be able to get it down to 8 lives remaining, and now's when you start to put that pressure in. Now's when you force them to walk into your reticles. As Chop is going to be pushing out the back, 3 are going to be dropping, only 5 lives remaining. Now is when you hop on the point, and these are going to be the final lives pushing in for this LVC roster to try and hold it, and that is going to be not happening whatsoever, as this roster in Georgia Southern are going to be absolutely dominating this first round on offense of Control.
Yeah, domination isn't really the best way to put it, man. I'm going to say bullying is all it comes down to. I mean, Georgia Southern, they look outstanding on this, and they show why they only have 1 loss to the entirety of the season on this mode. Is they know the way it works. This is their home ground. This isn't their home ground. This is where they were born, dude. Like, born and raised. And Control is their area in terms of Vanguard. And anything you see, I mean, if LVC can pull off a single round, I would be in absolute awe. Purely off Georgia Southern just kind of making some lackluster plays. This is the problem. This is the final nail in the coffin, and Georgia Southern is giving you time. They're playing with their food. They're saying, we're just playing off lives. We're taking one site, playing with the clock at that stage. You guys have to step up. You have to show us that if you want anything right now, if you want to make the series go longer, we're here for it. We're okay with playing the game longer, but you got to make sure you really want it.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, the squad in Lebanon Valley, they are able to get some early points. They've got 2 points of progression on A. It's about to be 3. Oh, Georgia Southern are doing this. Okay, so this is an interesting strategy that I've seen a few teams do, and it works for some. Like, they don't fully give up A, but they play for kills at A. They don't worry about the point themselves. They just play it like a team deathmatch over at A, and that's exactly what Georgia Southern are doing. And even though they've given up a lot of time at progression, look at the kills. They're up by 5 kills on the defensive side. They've only had 3 deaths on their whole team so far in this half. This is what I'm talking about. This is about knowing the game mode and understanding the win condition of it.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, the win condition is looking just kind of coming at all fronts right now. When you know the clock is the biggest thing right now, and Georgia Southern are just holding things down, that's what they're doing. They're saying this game will go that much quicker if we just find ourselves playing for A, letting them take the most of it, making sure that they're going to be in the mind games and mindset to say, we have to capitalize this point. We have to grab it. Well, that's going to be the case. LVC does manage that point, but problem is, in the meantime, they're down 10 lives. This is the same kind of bounce back they're going to have to manage as what we saw with them being on the defensive side, but instead being in a much more difficult situation, knowing that Georgia Southern is set up absolutely everywhere, roadblocks left and right, and quite honestly, they're checking your IDs and throwing them away too.
Yeah, I mean, precisely. I mean, this roster, I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. I mean, they're up by 10 in the kills. I mean, things are just going all the way in their favor no matter what. And this roster in LVC, they're going to need to push into B with only 2 more complete pushes remaining. I mean, 9 lives, that's going to be it. Georgia Southern are really showing teams how to play Control, in my opinion. Like, they're playing so smart, and that's what you want to see out of a team that's only taken 1 Control loss on the entire year.
Yeah. And they've had experience in these scenarios before. I mean, and when it came around to Cold War, they played the playoffs and on Control. I mean, they sat there and had a lot of success when it came around to those latter ends of the bracket. But, I mean, right now, as you can see, they're just playing with them. As I mentioned earlier, they are just making the job difficult. They're dwindling down the clock. They're letting LVC have a shot, or at least letting them think they have that shot. But they're just making sure that LVC are getting desperate. They're trying to push up for these kills. They're trying to make these plays. They're trying to get themselves a chance. But things are really just getting out of control for them. And quite honestly, no matter what they do, unless they play literal flawless Call of Duty past this point, I mean, Georgia Southern will be taking this.
Yeah, I mean, 2-0 already. going to be coming in for Georgia Southern after they pick up these last two. And, oh, man. Georgia Southern are putting on a masterclass. I mean, you're looking at these teams' records. You know, you got 18-2 and 16-5. You would think this team in Lebanon Valley would be able to put up a little bit more of a fight. But honestly, I think it's just Georgia Southern being more dominant than it really is Lebanon Valley struggling.
Yeah, it's almost like they created the mode themselves. Like, they knew what the intentions were for it. They knew how this map was going to lay out. They knew how to play it. And just literally at the conception of it. And honestly, it's extremely impressive to watch. Georgia Southern is one of those teams to where if you want to play textbook Call of Duty, if you want to make sure to play across the map, even then there's going to be a couple hiccups here and there. But, I mean, for the most part, it's not going to be too much of an issue. They're going to play this game. They're going to look really good when they do it. And even then, they're going to do it with 3 players now, as it seems. With this round coming into a start, Georgia Southern now being down a man. And I don't know if we're going for a reset on this, but honestly, I wouldn't blame if they just play it out.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. If I'm Georgia Southern, I'm playing this one out. Simple as that. Team A lagged out, whatever. We've got all the momentum. If we do lose a round, like, whatever. We'll end the game and, you know, say reset it then. But, like, honestly, I don't see a reason that they wouldn't be able to win. And that's mainly because in a 3v4, it 90% of the time doesn't come down to kills.
Yeah.
It comes down to how you actually play the point. And
yeah.
As you can see right now, Georgia Southern are doing a great job of that, and they're winning in the kill side as well. So already, oh, man. And that's the other thing is that in TDM situations, this might sound crazy, but let's say it's a 1v4. Typically, the player that is the 1 is going to be able to get more kills just because everyone they see they're going to be able to take out, while the 4 have to run around. So there's less people to kill on the map for LVC. So Georgia Southern technically might have an easier time in a 3v4. It might sound crazy.
No, I agree.
Yeah, that's just how things work sometimes in video games, and Call of Duty is one of them.
I agree 110%. It's a lot, and it's an aspect that a lot of teams really don't think of. It's an aspect. It's not really a strategy. I'm not saying that one of the teams. I'm not saying that they tapped out. They say, you know what, this will give us an advantage. In that case, we'd see 3v3s for control 24/7, and it just come down to a 1v1 at that point. But I mean, honestly, the Georgia Southern, they know how to play across the map. We sat there and said it. We said it's almost like they created the mode themselves on the maps and laid out the map to play for their favor, and it's really starting to show right now. Knowing they've already picked up A, knowing they have a 2-life advantage, it's not nearly as dominant as what we saw prior, but that's because there's not as many players in the game to really go ahead and find these kills, to really bring fruition to that and really show what they're made of. Because Chop is sitting at spawn, the other 2 players are just playing their game, saying, so as we can trade out, so as we can get these barrels hot, play the game and find kills wherever we want. That's all it comes down to. And even then, you see the read, you see the players trying to stack up towards B, but Georgia Southern aren't really trying to take this bait. They're trying to make sure to dwindle down your life, so when they take that last second hit, it makes it their job almost guaranteed.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, this LVC roster are doing a great job now, starting to lock this one down. They haven't let any ticks of aggression come through in the last minute, so Georgia Southern are going to need to make this one come down to kills in the last 55 seconds or so, because I don't think they're going to be having any opportunities really to touch this point, just because, I mean, a 3v4 situation getting to be... What was that spawn? Dunder just spawned right next to Testin as Testin ran by the tank. And,
yeah.
Wow.
I'm not even surprised, honestly.
Vanguard. Things happen. Got to be ready for it.
They most definitely do. You gotta be ready. If you're not ADSing when you spawn, are you really playing Vanguard?
Oh, God. Oh, man. But it looks like finally this team in LVC are going to be able to win this one. But the question is, you won when Georgia was on offense.
Yeah.
Now Georgia's going to be going into defense. And wait, they've got their 4th player back. Can they get onto the point? I was about to say, Cam, he's able to pick up 2, and he got behind him, and now they got on the B point, and finally, oh man, there's going to be 3 coming in for Cam. This might actually be, no way this is going to happen. 3.1 seconds left, and look at the kill feed. It is all going blue as Georgia Southern. They are not messing around, but finally, they are going to be getting kicked off the point, and LVC are going to be able to pick up their first win. But I will say, if that player reconnected 10 seconds earlier, they probably don't win that round.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, looking at the way they played the game, making it that much closer, and looking how they still had control of the site, trying to just play for that last second situation, it was really weird. That was a very, very odd round, but nonetheless, you see T-Shirt coming back. He's right back into the game. He's in the fray, and he's ready to play as well. Knowing that, I mean, honestly, he got himself 2 kills in the meantime. Literally, I want to say there was about 10 seconds of that game, and he found himself 2 kills during that. That's impressive. The level of aggression to get yourself within some kind of relativity of that matchup, to know that you can still get yourself a little taste of blood in the meantime, it's pretty impressive to say the least. And even then, once again, we're seeing Georgia Southern with the setup, trying to play for that last-second return, trying to dwindle the players down, knowing they're going to sack A, and even then completely giving it up in the meantime, saying, look, you now have 2 minutes. We're playing for kills anyways. Literally, when A was captured, that's when they went ahead and just crossed the line.
They got first blood when A got fully captured. Think about that. They didn't even challenge A. That's what I'm saying. They're straight up saying, you can have A, you got to come kill us at B, and you got to take us out 30 times. Oh my goodness. That's not going to be happening, because T-Shirt right now is putting this LVC roster on a T-shirt, left, right, and center, taking out all these players, coming back, say, you know what, I'm reconnecting, and I'm better than ever. Testing 23 and 21. You got Cam, who's 28 and 14, double positive right now, putting on an absolute clinic.
I think T-Shirt just forgot to hit the dining hall earlier, so he just want to go grab himself a quick little meal, and he's back. He's ready. He's already hungry, and, I mean, he's not really hungry anymore. He's had his fill. He, once again, as we mentioned earlier, the beef of the maps is going to be Tuscan, and they are throwing it down and grilling it right now. They are having themselves an absolute feast out of it. I mean, getting themselves a 4-life advantage right now, looking pretty good off that alone, but knowing they're just controlling this half of the map, knowing that B is only up for grabs, that no flanks are coming through for LVC. They haven't played towards A. They're playing towards middle and towards B, trying to make a very one-dimensional push, and Georgia Southern to set up specifically for that. Nobody's looking at A because nobody knows that there's a problem over there. Nobody on Georgia Southern is expecting it. It's a full stack, and sure, you see some overwhelming force, but a trade does come out in the meantime. But there you go. The roadblock system really set up, able to have a little bit of influence there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Dunder right now, 27 and 27 for this LVC roster, so at least someone is able to, you know, put in a little bit of work on this side and try to keep them in this one. But overall, it's still going to be Georgia Southern with the 6-life advantage right here, right now, and now it's going to be the push coming in. Dunder's able to take out one. You can see they're setting up for this push as Dunder is able to take out Choppas. Dunder's going pretty big. I mean, Dunder right now looking like the people's person's paper people.
Yeah, and even then, it also comes down to Tenacious. They're coming through the middle, finally making someone to a flank route, coming back on around to somebody. It comes down to these last-second situations where they throw a curveball into the mix, where they make sure this game can look that much more doable. And sure, it's 13-10. You have 17 seconds left on the clock. One wipe out of Georgia Southern, and they can find themselves around to really close this entire series out. And there it is, a couple kills on the board, and even then testing, contesting, and able to make sure to get some kills in the meantime as well, making it 2. Now 6-12 in the matchup in terms of lives. LVC only has 2 respawns remaining just as extra, as spares. On top of that, they have to make sure to play perfect past that point. And honestly, they don't have that leeway anymore. As 3 kills are left, it doesn't even matter. The time limit has already dwindled down, and that's going to be Georgia Southern taking away the series.
Yeah, big shout out to Georgia Southern being able to come out on top in their first match in Group A of the playoffs in the East. I mean, this roster right here and Testin Choppas, I mean, they definitely showed a whole lot of resolve. They showed a whole lot of unmitigated gall, if you will, to even play out that 3v4. You know, they said, you know what? We'll go ahead and give it a try. It was still a close round. They weren't able to get the win, but I mean, either way, their player came back. They got the solid victory. Big shout out to them to be able to get the victory over Lebanon Valley.
Yeah, disgusting plays here from Georgia Southern today. I mean, we saw a couple rounds being taken here and there. LVC looking like they could have had themselves a shot, but problem is they just didn't have that playoff ready kind of grit that we were expecting out of them. I mean, they had themselves a fight, but they didn't get enough punches in the head in to really make sure to get a knockout at some stage, to get themselves around on the board, to make sure they have somewhat of a fighting chance. Georgia Southern was just that much more tough. They were so much more resilient. Anytime anything happened, it almost seems like they planned it. They said, we'll give you that. Even on control, they epitomized that, saying, we will literally give you a site, play for whatever you want, but you're just playing into our grass and making sure we can play TDM at that stage.
Yeah, and I mean, as we can see right here, looking at these maps, 6 out of the 7 that me and you casted tonight were Tuscan. And I mean, these 3 went very, very quickly. I must say that. Georgia Southern going to be ending this one swiftly, dominating wins in control, search, and hard point. All 3, really, I mean, this team just really showed their dominance.
Yep, they most definitely did. I mean, best of luck to them going forward, knowing that they're going to have a run in this playoffs. They're not going to be shut down next week. They're not going to be shut down the week after. It comes down to that finals area. When you get to that top 8 situation, that's when they're really going to start experiencing some real fights and some real competition. And honestly, anybody is up for grabs to make sure to shut these guys down. I mean, that would be an outstanding look on your team. You would really start to twist things up and make the CCL playoffs look that much more exciting. But as it seems right now, Georgia Southern, they're here and they're prepared for it.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, big shout out to this Georgia Southern roster. I mean, they've absolutely put on an absolute show tonight for us in
Yep.
our second match of the night. And listen, I mean, these are the playoffs now. Now it's time to step up or show out, or guess what? We'll see you later. And I mean, honestly, that's exactly what the CCL is all about. It's about grinding through the season, getting to this point, getting to the playoffs, and then making it yourselves and your name and your team known. And the fact that these teams get to come out and represent their alumni, it's an absolute treat every single time.
And even then, I mean, you mentioned the alumni. Georgia Southern, as I sat there and said earlier, on a consistent basis, every single year in CCL, they found themselves in playoff situations, just guaranteed. It's not like they're playing for last chance qualifiers. It's not like they're going ahead and barely scrapping together. They are finding those top seedings every single time. Georgia Southern has proven to be a COD program. They have proven that already. They are looking outstanding. And I do collegiate in all kinds of games, R6, Valorant, whatever it may be. But Call of Duty is where they really show out. Every single other sport, I haven't heard them really mentioned too much, but not even whispered amongst voices. But here, they are being screamed at the top of their lungs. People are advocating for them, showing what they're made of, and they really back things up as well.
Oh, yeah, undoubtedly. And I mean, right now, it's just going to be all about how high, this team is going to be able to rise to the top. Georgia Southern, I mean, sky's the limit for them at the end of the day. Definitely want to see what they're going to be able to do the rest of the CCL playoffs. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for myself and Mick on the night. But listen, we're not done with College Call of Duty on the night, as we still have one more match coming up for you. So listen, get your popcorn, take your break, drink your water. We'll be right back with yet again another intense playoff matchup from the CCL.